Hi, it's Lucy here, and today I'm making my very first art journal page. Hopefully this will show you how easy it is to create one yourself. I'll be using some new mixed media products from Uniquely Creative, like these unicolor pigment powders. There are 13 colors in the bundle and they're super pigmented, so a little really goes a long way. I also have this little pot. This is the pearl pigment powder. It adds a really lovely shimmer when you mix it in with the colored powders, whether in a spray bottle or mixed in with paints or even into texture paste. And speaking of paste, I've got this white texture paste here too. It's nice and thick, perfect for adding dimensions through stencils or for mixing with the pigment powders to create your own colored pastes. I've got a couple of different sized spray bottles, and I also bought a cheap palette, but I don't end up using it today. Instead, I'm using the waxed backing sheets that come with the adhesive magnetic sheets I use for storing my dies. I'm now keeping these as they're actually perfect for one-time use with mixed media. They're A4 sized and have a smooth surface, so they make a great temporary work area. So let's start by quickly testing out the gum leaf green powder. And the powder actually looks orange in the jar, but once you add water, the true color comes to life. I'm adding just a tiny bit of the powder to some texture paste to mix up a colored version. And then I'll spray the rest of the powder with water to activate it. You'll see how nicely it mixes on the waxed backing sheet I mentioned earlier. It's smooth and non-absorbent, so it works really well as a temporary palette. And it's also a great way to reuse something that would usually get thrown out. Using this swatch, I'll add the powder in 3 ways in each square. First as a watercolor, then using the colored textured paste, and finally a watered down version to see how it looks when it's lightened. And I'll be doing the same for each of the colors, so I have a good reference. The swatch card I'm using is printed on 250 GSM cotton watercolor cardstock. It has a labeled square for each of the 13 pigment powder colors, plus 7 extra spaces if you want to add custom mixes or your favorite combinations. Let's try adding a bit of the pearl pigment powder to the leftover colored texture paste and the water paint I've already made. I haven't used these products before, so this is a good little test run before I start on the actual journal page. I've only used a small amount of the pearl pigment as it's just a quick test. I'll also try the texture paste through a stencil just to make sure everything's working the way I want it to. And once that's done, we can get started on the journal page itself. It's super quick to make, but I think it turned out really beautiful, and I hope you all think so too. I've got this brand new 6x6 art journal, and honestly I'm a bit excited and a little nervous to start using it. I really hoped I wouldn't mess it up, so I thought a good idea would be to half create my design off the journal first, then add it in. And I'm using items from this paper collection called Echoes of the Outback, but I'm mostly focusing on the floral bunches. That means you can totally adapt this page to suit whatever you've got in your stash. No need to have the exact same supplies. I've got a square die here that's just a little smaller than my 6x6 journal page, and I'm going to use this as my background piece. If you don't have square dies, no worries, you can just cut out a piece of paper to size. This die measures 13.5 centimeters square, and I love that the die has a stitch border detail. It adds a really nice touch. I'm going to distress all the edges of this piece, and if you don't have a distressing tool like this, you can just use the edge of a pair of scissors. It works just as well. I'm loosely following some mixed media steps inspired by Vicky P on YouTube. She's amazing. I've watched so many of her videos and love how she builds her pages. So step 1 is adding some paper to the background, which I've already done. And step 2 is a bit of white paint here and there. And I'm adding my own twist by mixing in some pearl pigment powder and a bit of rose pink as well, just for fun and a touch of shimmer. I think one of the best things about crafting is that you can fix mistakes 99% of the time just by layering something over the top. I feel like I've ended up with a little too much paint down in the bottom left corner, but that's totally fine. You'll hardly notice it once everything's finished. I'm going to use this rub-on. It feels perfect for the first page of my journal. I'm just placing it down with the backing still on for now, since I don't want to commit to it just yet. I want to work around it though. So next I'm going to do a bit of stamping. It's always a good idea to use permanent ink for this step. I can bend these type of stamps, which helps avoid getting a full blocky image. And I'm actually so happy to be stamping today. If you follow my channel, you'll know I don't stamp often because I'm not the best at it. But I'll just stamp a few areas here and there. Next up is some stenciling, and I've got this brick stencil from Journal Say and my white texture paste, which I think will work beautifully with the page. As you can probably see, most of the products I'm using today are from Uniquely Creative. They're an Australian company, but they do ship internationally as well, but check shipping prices. I'll have everything listed individually in the description box with links, so they'll be easy to find if you're curious about anything. I also have some discount codes in the description box too for both Uniquely Creative and Journal Say, and I'll mention them in a moment. I've had my Gesso and matte gel for years, so I'm not sure where they're from, but I'll include the names in case you want to Google them, or of course just use whatever mediums you already have. Now I'm adding the matte gel directly onto my page rather than the back of the paper, mainly because the texture paste is still drying and, well, I'm just a little impatient. I'll just try to be careful as I go. And next I'll add the rub on. I want to do this before adding any embellishments, just in case something goes wrong. Then I can tweak the layout or cover it up if I need to. The best way to add a rub on is to firmly rub over the design with a craft stick. Take your time and make sure it's fully transferred before peeling the backing off. As you can see here, you can see the difference once part of the rub on has been transferred. It looks a bit grayer compared to this section that's still untouched. And that's a good way to tell what's already stuck down even before peeling the backing off. But don't worry, it does transfer as a solid black onto the page. You can carefully lift a corner to peek, and if it hasn't all transferred, just pop it back down and keep rubbing. And then if any little bits don't quite stick, you can always touch them up with a matching black or coloured marker. To help the quote stand out, I'm adding some white shadowing with my gel pen, and I'm making sure to keep the highlights on the same sides of the letters each time. That way it looks more like a real shadow and gives the text a bit of extra pop. And of course I messed up the brick stenciling in the bottom right, so even though I wasn't planning to add flowers there, that's now my first priority, figuring out how to cover it up in a way that looks intentional. I'll try out a few different floral pieces and move them around until I'm happy with the placement. I'm leaving this part of the process in because I know a lot of you enjoy seeing how the final layout comes together. I think we could totally adapt this journal page into a handmade card too, just swap the sentiment to suit the occasion. And you can always customize your embellishments to suit your page or card. I'm trimming off a few leaves from this floral cluster and I'll tuck them into a different spot where they work better with the design. I'll glue everything down with either my usual glue or the clear gel, whatever suits the piece best. I've got something special to share. Uniquely Creative have kindly given me an exclusive 20% off discount code just for my YouTube viewers. It's valid this weekend only from now until midnight on Monday the 19th of May. That's Australian time, so Sunday night for most of you elsewhere in the world. And the code is Lucy Mixed Media, all one word in capitals. And it works on items from the mixed media and paint collections. I'll pop it down in the description box below as well, so you don't need to remember it. It's limited to one use per customer, so if you've had your eye on something, now's a great time to grab it. And I've added a larger cluster at the top of the page, and once everything's dry, I'll trim off any overhanging bits. It's best to use long scissors for this type of cutting. And we're nearly done now. The final step is adding some splatters. I'm just reactivating the old pink and pearl paint I used in the background with a bit of water, so the splatters will match nicely. I'll cover up the quote a little so it doesn't get too splattered. We still want it to be easy to read. And that's it. My very first art journal page is finished. What do you think? Do you like how it turned out? Have I shown that it's actually not too hard to create one of these yourself? If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe for more crafty inspiration. And let me know in the comments what you thought of my first art journal page and if you'd be interested in seeing more mixed media or journaling from me in the future. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Happy crafting and bye for now.